Well, parenting during the tween and the teen years can be tough on mothers and daughters. Just ask any mother of a daughter that's in that age group. With all the competing influences, there are so many things to contend with. But our next guest says parents can actually triumph over peers and pop culture. She's here to show us how. Karen Nowicki, founder of MotherDaughterWeekends.com, joins us with some tips to bond with our tween. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Bonding with the tween, that seems like big business right there.
It is.
There's just this gap between the understanding of a mother and a tween daughter.
Yeah, not only the gap between the generations, but also all the hormones. It's time for pimples to pop and hips to get wider and shoulders to get broader, and then just the attraction to boys. It's just a big change for kids psychologically and sociologically. It's a big time for them. So really, the influences that are so important for the kids come from home, even though they're starting to branch out and let friends become more important, and of course the celebrities. We really want to bring them back home and hold on to what we have.
Well, it's interesting too that you mentioned the celebrities, because we've got the influence of Hannah Montana, even now Miley Cyrus, who's kind of separating from Hannah Montana, and a whole iCarly, and those types of influences and people that they've seen aren't necessarily indicative of or representative of the type of behavior that we want our daughter to model.
No, and they're definitely, especially when you talk about Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus, as she's branching out and looking for a more mature audience. What happens to the tweens that were following her as she's transitioning?
They want to grow up.
They want to grow up, and much too quickly. And yet, the iCarly show, some of these opportunities are great times for mom to sit down and watch them with the girls and have conversations. So if there's something going on morally that's a little different than what you'd like to promote at home, you could watch the show together and then have a conversation about it afterwards.
But the truth of the matter is, when they watch that, they want to be that. I remember being that as a young girl, seeing people on TV, and I wanted to be that. So what is your advice, the tips that you can provide to us to try and balance that, where you don't necessarily strip them of what every other little girl is watching?
Yeah, I really believe that kids want to be able to express themselves, and oftentimes celebrities are a motivator for that. So I recommend, again, just connecting with the kid. I call it eyeball to eyeball, making sure that you have a lot of FaceTime with your children. Especially at the tween age, text messaging becomes such a big deal for them with their friends, and so stay connected with them by making sure that the TV is turned off during mealtime. You have opportunities like our Mother-Daughter Weekend to go away and spend some time together, uninterrupted, no competition for your time, and have those conversations about what it was like for us to be girls, and check in and see what are some of your fears, what are some of your concerns as a young girl, and that from a parent perspective, you can relate to that.
So I gleaned two bits of advice. Basically, the eye contact to eye contact, which we're really spending one-on-one time uninterrupted, and then also relating your personal anecdotes and experiences.
Absolutely.
Is that always the best situation? I mean, if your childhood was something that you'd prefer your daughter not go down, are you still honest about where you were?
Honesty would be yet a third piece of advice that I would have. Always be honest. And you can tailor what level of information you're sharing, but of course you want to be honest, especially if you had an upbringing that was less than what you would have liked to have been. What a great opportunity to use that as a teachable moment with your daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about, I remember it back from when I was a kid, that you'd have the girls that would put their clothes that they want to wear in their backpack and they change at school.
That was me.
Right? So what do you do about those kinds of, like temptations and the deceit that kind of surfaces because they're trying to kind of assert their own independence?
Yeah, well, I know from my perspective as a kid growing up, there was a big consequence for me when I did that, and it was necessary to have that consequence, because when my mom said, don't take clothes from my closet, and I did it anyway, I was deserving of a consequence. Mm-hmm. So when those things happen and that deceit shows up, or there's lying going on, it's really critical to deal with it head on. It's not about being your daughter's best friend. It's about being the parent first, and have the structures and the consequences set up ahead of time, so that, if this happens again, if you choose to take clothes from my closet again, this is what's going to happen. This is the result of what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So that the child then can be thinking ahead of time, I'd like to wear her clothes, but that's not so smart.
Yep. Let's talk about the weekend and how we might be able to create that bridge to better communication with our tweens.
So the Mother-Daughter Weekend Retreat is an opportunity to come together, again, uninterrupted, just mother and daughter together. It's not like a spa weekend. Oftentimes people will, go and do the nails together and the pedicures. This is really a chance to communicate. A lot of interactive activities. We do a lot of journaling and a lot of small group conversation around peers, self-esteem, how to love yourself from the inside out, and have mom have an opportunity to really practice some foundational conversations with her daughter.
And it starts this weekend.
Yes, this weekend, Friday through Sunday.
Friday through Sunday. Thank you so much.
I
appreciate you being in here.
Thank you.
For more information on the Mother-Daughter Weekend, you can head to abc15.com and click on the Living tab. We'll provide that there.